Airspace closures all across the Middle East have left thousands of travelers, many of them being Africans, in limbo. Flights are grounded, routes are suspended, and plans have been disrupted. And whether they're going home or, were supposed to be elsewhere, beyond the headlines, there are real people navigating uncertainty in foreign countries with expiring visas, mounting costs, and families waiting at home. So today we're unpacking what it really means to be stranded abroad, which is, something many people are experiencing at this time, and the practical steps that you can take, the financial realities as well to prepare for, and the emotional resilience required when global events suddenly become personal. We're speaking to a guest of ours, definitely a friend of On the Move, Emma Bashford, who's an immigration expert joining us from London to unpack this. Good morning, Emma. It's always a pleasure to have you. I recall something very similar happening at the break of the COVID-19 pandemic, with millions of people stranded in countries that were not their own and wanting to go home, but all airspaces were closed at the time.
Yeah, I remember that. That was my friend Hayley who organised for the UK and internationally for people to be able to get home. Unfortunately, I don't know why it hasn't been organised, and there's been no one stepping up to organise or push Durko into doing something for people who are literally stuck in the Middle East at the minute. There's been a lack of information. There's been an awful lot of disinformation as well. I was just saying to Sonia about what people have been asking me, because apparently bombs had hit the UK as well. And I was like, no, we're fine. But you can imagine the people are having to rely on social media, things like this. So stories get blown up, or news is read, and then opinions are based on that and spread as truth. But yeah, so far, Durko has done nothing, to the best of my knowledge, to try and get people out of the area, which is a shame, to put it politely.
Yeah, because what I've read is that Durko actually is in contact with many South Africans in the UAE airspace, and they're asking them to touch base with their embassies. That was the last thing that I'd seen from their correspondence, and also heard some reports on it yesterday. If you find yourself in this kind of a situation, Emma, what should you actually be doing? What would be the first thing as a citizen of a particular country to actually do when you find yourself in such a war situation?
So if you look at what's currently happening, the UAE is actually taking cover to ensure that there's roughly about 20,000 people, including South Africans, who are stuck within the Middle East. UAE, thank God, have advised and stepped up and said it's going to pay for hotels and meals for anyone who's trying to leave the area. So they've advised as well that hotels aren't allowed to remove anybody who's staying within the property. So if you do have a hotel booking which has expired, you can stay. The sheikhs and the UAE government are going to cover your costs. You can also contact the Durko communication center. Just make sure that you're up to date. And they know where you are. I should say as well that when you travel to these places, making it sound like it's a Wild West, which it is at the minute, just make sure that you register yourself with Durko. So it's almost like you're just telling your government where you are. You can travel where you want, but just make sure that in cases such as this, you inform them so when they are able to arrange flights, they know who's where and who they do need to help. Social media as well can be a dangerous place because people are given a lot of their opinions, and I've seen some of the videos and you'll see people who are hiding in the toilets, but then you'll have other people who are literally playing volleyball whilst the drones and the missiles are being shot overhead. It's almost like surreal. So you can see both ends of the story, and how people are coping. But so far, the Middle East are saying that you can remain there. And we have to see what the next steps will be from the USA, to put it politely. Just so I'm not quoted, we won't go into the provisional state of what my opinion is of Israel. But just make sure you update DERCO, you know your contact details for the local missions. Update your family as well, just so they know. You don't have to keep on posting on your Facebook, your TikTok, things like this. Drop them a WhatsApp, just make sure and tell them that you're fine, because they're going to be panicking as well. It's a catch-22 situation. You're stuck there. DERCO is not helping anyone. They're just telling you to register yourself. But until there's any further movement and you're allowed to fly, you're in a catch-22. I mean, I'd prefer to be in Dubai at the minute rather than 6 degrees, freezing cold, and 40 days of rain.
Oh, not with the missiles, I'm sure, Emma. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I think you can take the weather on this one. But let's also go a little bit deeper in this conversation, because, you know, when you are in a foreign country, first of all, that probably has its own language and its own way of life. If you're a foreigner in that country and, you know, something that is as alarming as what's going on in the Middle East right now is taking place, you as a foreigner are probably going to be the last priority in that particular country. People are probably going to be speaking in their own languages, not really worried about accommodating you at that minute, because they're also pretty scared for their lives and the situation that's going on there. And that means that you also have to be in survival mode, because you can't exactly rely on the locals who are also going through the exact same thing you're going through, also scared for their lives, also scared for their families at that particular moment. I need us to take a break, and when we come back, you know, I know you spoke about approaching embassies, etc., but let's also speak about the practical everyday things that you can do to make yourself feel safer, but also to find a safe place within an environment where you are not a local at that particular time. So we'll continue this conversation with immigration expert Emma Bashford after this particular break. Stay with us right here on Channel Africa.
The safety and well-being of learners is a shared social responsibility. Parents and guardians play a critical role in ensuring safe, reliable, and lawful scholar transport. Parents are therefore urged to take responsibility for the following. Parents should ensure that learners are on time and ready for collection to prevent unsafe driving practices such as rushing, unscheduled stops, or overloading. By working together, parents, operators, and authorities can protect learners and build a culture of safety on our roads. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palisa Tau and Benjamin Mushatama.
20 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African Time. We're speaking to Emma Bashford, immigration expert, joining us all the way from London. And we're speaking about the airspace closures across the Middle East. We know that there is a huge crisis there in the Middle East with the war between the US and Iran. We We know there's also the involvement of Israel in that one. What happens to ordinary people in that situation, especially those who are living or even working or visiting those parts of the world? How do they survive and navigate even getting home? Emma, the difficulty is that you are in a foreign land, as Palisa is saying, the language is different. Also, you're probably not going to be a priority. For you to survive, you were speaking around the fact that just also make contact with your embassies, right? If there is this kind of closure and a call to stay safe, what would the best ways to be on a lockdown situation be for you as a foreigner?
So currently the safety protocols are maintain a go-to bag. So make sure you've got your passport in there, your identity, any essential medication, and basic supplies. Because when an evacuation window opens, you don't want to be running around. You know where your passport is, and then at the last possible minute, you always forget where it is because you put it somewhere safe. Follow the local authority instructions. I know in Dubai, if sirens sound in, they're telling you to move away from glass and stay indoors. Obviously, I jest when people are playing still their volleyball and jogging and everything else. But that's, I guess, their way of trying to cope with it. But make sure that you get your go-to bag ready, because as soon as you get notification that you can travel, you want to make sure that you have everything to get to the airport. Saying that currently in the UAE, there's 2 borders, and DIRCO's actually suggested monitoring the land border status. So we're so used to flying nowadays. It's like I could get a train to France, but I'm never going to think to get on a train to France. The border status in the UAE, the land border status is still open. So you still got Jordanian and Egyptian crossings. You can, Jordan and Egypt, you can still travel across to them. And get through to unaffected airports, because they're currently not. I'd suggest more towards Egypt, because Jordan has had the missiles launched towards them. And Egypt Air, worst case scenario, we know that they do flights to South Africa. So have a look whilst you're having to wait. What would be the process of getting through a land crossing to Egypt? Our other usual airlines such as Emirates, Qatar, if you're stranded in the airport, they do have to provide you with care. So hotels, they'll put you in hotels, they have to provide your food, you're not paying for it. So as much as I say Qatar airport is amazing, it's not somewhere where I'd ever want to be stranded.
All right, Emma, you spoke about, making sure that you're always ready in case things change, and you spoke about your go-to bag. Should you have this bag on you at all times, and what should be inside it?
So, your medicine. Do you need medicine? Make sure that you carry your medicine, your passport, your identity, any personal documents which are important to you. So it could be your travel insurance, your medical insurance, a list, say your battery runs out on your phone, a list of contact phone numbers with names, because we rely on our mobiles so much.
Yeah, actually.
I can't take nobody's phone number apart from my own, which is useless because I don't need to call myself.
True, yes.
Do you have children? We know that children love a snack. So pop a snack in. If you're out and about, make sure the bag's not heavy. I know you can carry up to 8 kgs on an airline, like hand luggage, but a kid's a little backpack, if you have children, just pop their documents in there and keep it in the back of the car, underneath the seat. If you have to go pick them up from nursery or school and it's in at least your car underneath, a bottle of water for each of you, just to make sure that if you're stuck in an airline queue or something else, children and yourself, it's always the worst time. You need a drink or you need a snacky snack. Insurance documents, make sure you carry your insurance documents on your phone as well, just in case. Take photos of everything. If you lose your originals, you can have a copy at least.
Sure.
Because with South Africa, you've got your identity numbers, things like this. So just take a copy, because it'll be the worst possible situation where you panic. It's the one day you don't carry it with you and you've been advised that you can leave. You're going to need some identity somehow to show who you are.
Yeah. And, I also wanted to know, in terms of travel, if the airspace does open, because you're not ready to travel at that particular time, and maybe you had not budgeted for this type of emergency, what would be the best way to deal with coming back home?
So if you've already got a flight booked, most governments will provide a flight. If you cannot afford it, they will literally set up a payment plan for you. But also check your insurance. I'm one of those people who never has insurance, but you should always have travel insurance for trip disruption, terrorism. Look at the airlines as well, because a lot of the time, if you had a flight booked like 2 weeks ago and you haven't been able to get on the flight, they should also be providing you with a flight in place of the flight that has been missed. Official government websites as well will also have the evacuation plans on, or they should. Can't say that all governments will update, but currently there's not going to be any evacuations until they deem that the airspace is going to be safe. So just have a look at what the other options would be, such as Jordan or getting across to Egypt. Do I need a visa to cross into Egypt? Will they stamp me into Egypt? And just consider that, because the government might say we're not going to do flights from here, but if you can get to here, we're going to provide a flight.
All right, Emma, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to unpack these immigration issues with you, especially at a time where, this is very necessary information for all of us to have. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Emma.
That's okay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
So
Emma.
you should as well. Immigration expert Emma Bashford speaking about what you can do on a very practical level if you find yourself stranded abroad, particularly with the situation we're seeing right now in the Middle East. That's Emma Bashford speaking to us on there. Let us know what your thoughts are on our WhatsApp line, +27 83288 6684. Channel Africa first with the African story globally. It's 9:30 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest in sports.
Sport.